Hi everybody, my name is Pascal Watzel. Um, I'm originally from Switzerland, but I'm Swiss Italian. It happened because my great grandfather was a missionary, and one day he brought that sweet young Italian girl back to Switzerland to enable her her education. She came from a very poor family, and his son fell in love and learned very fast Italian. And now 60 plus years later, they're my grandparents, and so there's my Italian root. I still have an Italian passport, but sadly I do not speak the language. Anyway, I grew up in Switzerland. When I was 19, I went for a short-term outreach to the Philippines, where I stayed on for the next 15 years. The first years I worked with YWAM, a lot of in Christian discipleship, but I also was working with leading a mobile team where we did a lot of evangelistic outreaches, pastoral conferences, as well as help pioneering a church up in the tribes. And then the last 10 years I worked with OMF. There I worked primarily in helping pioneer a ministry amongst street communities, so amongst those in the sex trade, but also amongst community who were facing homelessness. And the last 4 years I was also working at the seminary, teaching courses on missiology and intercultural theology. I met my wife in the Philippines. We're married now for 11 plus years. I have 3 kids, 7, 5, 2. And so 3 years ago, after a lot of prayers and seeking God, we decided we'll return back to Switzerland, where I work now currently with the Reformed Church. I grew up Pentecostal, but that's my work now, and I'm working with one of the regions in the area of mission, of course, international development, interreligious dialogue, economical dialogue, those main topics. And at the same time working with the University of Basel, where we work offering specific courses for migration churches and developing the subject of intercultural theology. So that's a few words about myself. Now about the course that I'm teaching at Fuller, which is entitled MT535, A Theology of Suffering and Joy, where we try to reflect together on the suffering and evil that we see in this world. What are some scriptural, what can we learn from tradition, what are contemporary discourses in understanding, so what are the theoretical frame in understanding suffering and evil in this world, and then what are missional and pastoral responses to suffering and evil. So the course is really about building a Christian life and Christian communities that are able to absorb suffering and are able to live faithfully amidst the evil that we encounter, where we start to share and receive the true source of joy, which can be found, of course, in God's person, His work, His provision, rule and presence. So when we talk about mission, the primary focus then really becomes about how to lead the nation to the source of joy amidst the suffering and the evil and the injustice we see. So we start to talk about in the course of developing practices of theodicy, or nurturing that the path of joy, discerning joy amidst of evil and suffering. And we do that, of course, in concrete context, where we read historical case studies, but also our personal studies of really developing that kind of joy, the kind of a theology of joy amidst suffering and evil in this world. So I hope I will be able to welcome you at least in the sample course, but hopefully in the whole 10 weeks course, and you'll be able to encourage and motivate your colleagues in your organization. Thank you very much for listening.